Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and connoisseurs of the written word. Today, we'll discuss three words that come to us from the letter N in the alphabet. Okay? They sound so similar to each other that I figured it would be a good idea if I presented them all at once so that you could compare and contrast them, and when you use them later on, not confuse one for the other. You know, when similar sounding words are discussed concurrently, we can draw a distinction between them far more easily than if we were to study them separately. So let us write out these three words. These words are new B, let's push it a bit up, nubilous, L-O-U-S, nubilous, N-U-B-I-L-O-U-S. The other word is new B ferrous, F-E-R-O, nubiferous. And the third word is N-U-B-I newbie nubigenous. Okay, so we have nubilous, nubiferous, and nubigenous. They sound kind of similar. They all start with nubi, N-U-B-I. The change comes in the latter half of the words. So let us discuss these three words sequentially. Nubilous simply means cloudy. Okay? So you could say the nubilous sky. That would be a straightforward application. The sky was nubilous just before the storm. So application of the word nubilous is fairly straightforward. Now, nubiferous, N-U-B-I-F-E-R-O-U-S, nubiferous. What does that mean? Nubiferous means cloud producing. Okay, now that might confuse you. What could possibly produce clouds? I mean, clouds form pretty much spontaneously as you have warm moisture rising up upwards into less dense air. This warm air expands adiabatically, cools, forms tiny droplets, and you have the formation of what are called clouds. So cloud formation happens all on its own. You're not producing clouds. It's a natural process in nature, just like rivers and the waves on the ocean. So where could you possibly use this word nubiferous? Something that is producing clouds. I mean, when you say nubiferous, it's almost like you're deliberately producing clouds. But you know, that's the beauty about modern science. We can actually produce clouds. It's not just that clouds form on their own. naturally and spontaneously, they can be made artificially. You could actually force cloud formation. And sometimes scientists do precisely that, because in certain areas where the drought is too prolonged and the farmers are suffering and they need rain, and the clouds are simply not forming, they're being kind of lazy in doing their job of providing us with rain. Scientists can actually make clouds form. They can force form clouds. Okay, how do they do that? They do that by a really ingenious technique, and that technique involves flying in an aeroplane at very high altitudes and releasing what are called silver iodide crystals. Okay, silver iodide is a molecule whose molecular structure resembles that of ice. So, because of this resemblance, silver iodide, molecular, I'm talking about not a lump, but molecular size silver iodide crystals, can actually serve as a nucleus for ice formation. Okay? But that's not what we want. We want cloud formation. But that's just it. When you have a core, a nucleus of silver iodide, water molecules that are present in a vapor and which are not condensing and forming the water droplets that are required for cloud formation, these vaporous water molecules can be made to condense onto the silver iodide crystal and form a droplet. So you don't get ice formation as such, but you do get a water droplet formation with tiny drops. I mean, if the drops are large, they'll fall to earth as rain. Okay, so clouds, they do have droplets, but droplets are so extremely small that they remain aloft, and that's why clouds don't fall down. It's one of the miracles about clouds. Even though gravity is pulling on them, they don't fall down because they're less heavy than the surrounding air. They're kind of buoyant and they remain up there. But once the water droplets cross a certain critical threshold in terms of size, they will fall down, and that's what is called rain. So clouds produce rain once the number of water droplets cross a certain threshold number, and when the size also increases beyond a certain threshold size. So you could say silver iodide crystals are nubiferous. There you have it. So modern science has given us a way to use this word nubiferous, which are ancient people. The ancients couldn't dream of. The ancients could not dream of producing rain unless, of course, you have the rain dances of North America, which were performed by the Native Americans to produce rain. I heard that they're pretty effective. I mean, even though science can't explain it, it appears that those rain dances done by Native Americans in certain ceremonies can indeed bring about rain. Don't ask me how, but apparently it works. So there are plenty of other ways than using silver iodide crystals to bring about rain. Okay, so you could say the rain dances of the Native American tribes of North America are nubiferous in intent, or you could say they're nubiferous in consequence. Okay, or you could say the nubiferous rain dances of the Native Americans, for instance. So, or you could say the nubiferous attempts of scientists were successful once they started using silver iodide. So you can actually seed clouds, miniature incipient clouds. You can seed them with these silver iodide crystals sprayed out from an aeroplane, and increase the rate at which that cloud forms, and make it produce rain for you. So silver is a lovely little element, and it has all kinds of strange properties. Hopefully I'll be able to discuss it in some subsequent video. But silver iodide, a combination of silver and iodine. Okay, silver is a metal. Iodine lies at the extreme right of the periodic table. It's in the same group as chlorine, fluorine, and what is the third fellow? Bromine. Yeah. So these are the halogen elements, and iodide is a lovely violet-colored element, which in combination with silver produces silver iodide, which has this really miraculous ability to actually form clouds. So Humans now are actually able to intervene in meteorological events, which means weather events, giant events. I mean, events that affect on a planetary scale. We can actually influence them. We have now gained that power to actually get a handle on these hitherto natural phenomena which were intractable to human intervention. Okay, so that is nubiferous. Now, coming to this one, nubigenous. Okay, this nubigenous, this gen means generation. So nubigenous means cloud born, something born in a cloud. Okay, now once again, you're probably mystified. I mean, how is it possible for a cloud to generate anything? I mean, other than water droplets, what could it possibly generate? Well, apparently it can. I mean, I remember back in 1987 taking a class, a lovely class. I mean, one of the most memorable classes I've ever taken, from the great evolutionary microbiologist Carl Woese, Woese. He was a professor in the microbiology department at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I don't remember exactly the department. Okay, so don't quote me on that. But he was a faculty member at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign back then, and I was very fortunate to take a summer class with him. Tiny class, but lovely class, because he used to open up the whole class for discussion, and it's probably among the top two most memorable classes that I've ever taken in my life. I mean, I feel privileged to have actually met and talked to this really great scientist, Carl Woese. Okay. So anyway, during this course of these lectures, we were discussing the origin of life in one of his lectures, and he made this rather strange remark. At least it seemed strange to me then. It doesn't seem strange to me now. So he said, "I think life did not form in some warm pond on the protoplanet Earth, but rather it formed up in the clouds." I mean, really, he said that. He actually said that. He said, "I think the first life forms." Proto-life formed not on Earth but up in the clouds. He didn't give any reasons why he had speculated in that way, and nor did we ask. I was just a young graduate student and too deferential to ask him something like that. But I thought it was it was an unorthodox idea, but I thought it was far-fetched. I didn't take it seriously. But then, after I finished my master's degree in physiology and came back to my home country, I mean, several years passed, as much as I think 15 years passed. And then I found that, curiously enough, in the course of my readings, desultory readings in various different subjects, physics, chemistry, biology, name it. I was just a bookworm who read anything that happened to fall into his hands. But anyway, I found remarkably multiple lines of evidence from very different and disparate quarters that seemed to suggest that life indeed did appear in clouds. First appear in clouds, okay? Proto-life. I couldn't believe it. I mean, but then the evidence was incontrovertible. I mean, I had dismissed the idea as far-fetched, but once the evidence points in the direction, if you're a true and objective scientist, you have no choice but to accept it for what it is. So when I saw all these multiple lines of evidence clearly pointing to the real possibility that life indeed did not arise in some, tiny warm pond on early Earth, I decided to contact him again. I think almost 20 years, I don't remember, a lot of years. I mean, at least a decade had passed. So I sent him was it an email or a letter? I don't remember, one of those two. I sent him a letter saying, "I took your class, sir, long ago. I don't know if you remember me. But you mentioned in the class that life formed in clouds. And I didn't believe you then, but my own investigations seem to suggest that you were indeed correct. I plan to write up my findings in a research paper. And I didn't expect him to write back. You know, he's a famous scientist. I'm just a graduate student, so being as busy as he is, I didn't expect him to write back. But that's the thing. Not only a great scientist, he's a very humble human being too. He wrote back. He wrote back and said, yeah, okay. He acknowledged basically I don't remember the exact contents, but I was so astonished of even receiving a reply from him that I was just overwhelmed basically by the whole thing. My plan was indeed to write it up as a research paper, send it to him for comment, and if his input was sufficiently large, to publish the paper jointly, given the fact that he was the originator of the idea. Although the evidence I had gathered in support of it was my own independent work, it would have been fair for me to contact him and see if it was possible to publish a paper jointly. But the paper never got written. I mean, I was so busy following so many different wonderful things in science, generating like 20 new ideas each day. This was just one of many ideas. So I put the whole thing on the back burner. Someday I am going to get around to writing that paper. Okay. So coming to the point, we can say therefore, modern science suggests, especially given the speculations of the great evolutionary biologist Carl Woese, modern science seems to suggest that life indeed did form, early life did indeed form in clouds, and that the early earth clouds were nubigenous. Okay, they had nubigenous properties. The nubigenous ability of clouds was first suggested by the evolutionary biologist Carl Woese. Like that, you could now actually suggest that the clouds are a kind of incubator, ancient proto-incubator of life, where early life may indeed have formed. Certainly, the conditions are quite propitious. Cool temperature, you have plenty of water, you have plenty of minerals being vaporized off the surface of the earth. You have plenty of sunlight, no predators, nothing. So it could have been it could have been like a womb, 20,000 feet in the air, a tiny incubator of life, and you could say life literally rained down on Earth once it was formed in the clouds. Once it was formed in the nubigenous clouds, okay? Nascent life first formed in the nubigenous clouds, okay? The nubigenous clouds were the birthplace of the first life forms, like that. So you can play around with this word, nubigenous. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I give you these three words: nubilous, nubiferous, and nubigenous. And in the next video, I'll discuss a couple more really pretty words. Bye for now.